Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's, well, we'll call it ARW Weekly, but it's only really going to be about one topic, and that's transfers. And joining me tonight, I'm delighted to have Andy, Keith, and Jonathan. And lads, there's only one place to start, and it's with Mr. Van Dijk. Keith, you've been begging me on Twitter all week to let you in on this subject, so I'm going to give you first shout, mate.
What can you say about Virgil van Dijk? He is the colossal that we've been waiting for, and somehow we have managed to turn this on its head. I think there's a lot of different ways you can kind of look in this particular situation. As much as I believe that, you know, it's all cloak and daggers, there's an interesting topic that's being debated with regards to people's knowledge on transfer issues and what's going on before any money has changed hands. And I think it's definitely a debate that should be had. Are the people who are being given this information too open, too ready to give out, you know, hints and all these type of things that end up becoming growing much, much more? I mean, I just looked at Monday. Monday, there was one tweet that set the whole world on fire. One tweet. We all know what it was. It was get in. One tweet. That one tweet had everybody going. It had all the big accounts going. It had everyone saying, "Oh, it's done, this, that, and the other. We're going to have a double deal sorted, etc., etc., etc." And it's, you know, it's a question of whether we jumped the gun too soon with this information. Were we too quick to want to feed ourselves with this positivity without actually allowing the club to go about and put the bids in, make the clubs aware, and then get these deals over the line? So as much as, of course, we're going to chat about this in so many different angles, and FSG incompetency will be definitely a subject, I would like to put out there that I think that there's certain big accounts, there's certain people that know a lot of stuff in the know, ITK, whatever, that maybe it's time to reel it in a little bit with the amount of information you're giving out too soon. And, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. Look after that information and stop leaking it out too quick.
Andy, I think Keith's made a really good point there, and a great place for us to start this whole topic. The guys that do have the information, what should they be doing with it? Should they be hanging on to it, or do you think they're right to put it out there?
Yeah, I think he's spot on there. I know we're all guilty of wanting to find out things quick, and we're all on Twitter searching every day for the next link that generally turns out to be a complete load of bollocks. But with this one, there was absolute hysteria once. I think it was Graham Kelly put that tweet out. He's on the money with a lot of things. The papers were all over what he was saying, ran the same storylines. All the guys, all the big accounts were tweeting about it, and it because of the hysteria it creates, it attracts more comments, it attracts more commentary. It brings the bigger media outlets into the party, and we've absolutely fucked this up. Whether it's partially to blame on the club and whatever the club are doing, but it's everyone's fault. Like, it's the media played their part, the club played their part, Klopp played his part for sure, and the player. So I can't believe we were about to sign probably our biggest signing since Suarez, and we've absolutely shit the bed on this one, unfortunately.
One thing that I found fucking hilarious is this whole Blackpool link. I mean, them stories just write themselves. I mean, there's so many good tweets going around about Klopp meeting him in Blackpool, and so many good gifs going around. But where do we think that the leak is coming from in the club? Because somebody somewhere obviously is giving out information, and has anybody got any ideas where they believe that's coming from? Now, obviously, nobody knows for sure, but there's a lot of fingers being pointed, so let's see who the culprits could be. Jonathan, what's your take on it?
It's very hard to say, because reality is nobody knows. Who knows who leaked it? Who leaked the story? I think what really pushed everything over the line was that John Cross article in the Mirror there. I think it might have been Tuesday, was it? I'm sorry,
He's a proper
days are just
plank, to be honest. Now, come on, he's
absolutely. Like, whatever about the famous tweet saying that get in, we have him. That it was the John Cross article for me with the level of detail of the Blackpool meets and all the lovely text messages back and forth for Klopp charmed the arse of him. That for me, I think everybody knows tapping players goes on left, right, and centre. It's a done thing. I don't think Southampton had an issue with tapping up the player. I think what personally, and this is only my 2 cents for what it's worth. I think the combination of Southampton didn't get the bidding war with Chelsea and Man City that they expected. Van Dijk made his clear feelings well known that he wanted to go to Liverpool, and then the other two clubs kind of just balked away, and that combined with the fact that that John Cross article, that it was so open, it was so in the face, like all media was in hysteria since Monday afternoon when all that information broke. I think that's what's just pushed them over the edge, really. Where the league come from, honestly, I haven't a clue. But it's gone and done a good bit of damage, hasn't it?
It fucking has, and yeah. I know you guys aren't fans of John Cross either.
No. Yeah, like, look, what I feel has happened was there was some big numbers being bandied around how much this player was going to cost. I mean, we even thought it was big at 35 million at the very initial, like I think it was April or something. This was started March or April. And then all of a sudden 50 million, 60 million got mentioned, and today 70 million. So I think like the owners sensed this kind of thing and got in and tried to play some dirty tactics by getting into the player's head, getting him to admit that he wants to go to Liverpool in the kind of same way that once Barcelona come in for a player, everybody's out of the picture and Barcelona never overpay. So I think FSG tested that strategy by getting Klopp to talk him around, to make his feelings known that he wants to come to us. And that's pissed Southampton off, and rightly so. And they've really done a number on us. Like they've called our bluff on it, and they've reported us to the Premier League because they took massive exception to it. Because now they're in a position where they won't get 70 million unless they really dig their heels in and they're intent on not selling, and then somebody bids 70 million. But they won't get what they were going to get had there been 4 clubs bidding. And that's being caused by Liverpool and Klopp and everything else, and it's got out. And we probably deserve what's happening now. You know, if we step away and take our Liverpool hats off, we've got what we've deserved here. We've tried to play dirty. They've called us out on it, and then it's resulted in one of the most embarrassing kind of actions by the club last night with that statement. Like, I'm absolutely blown away by the statement. I think it's so unprofessional, the wording of it, apologising for any misunderstandings. You know, I'm sorry if I've offended. It's the most, you know, it doesn't seem like a genuine apology. It's just being thrown out there, and it's kind of made us look very foolish. So,
without doubt, that statement last night, I'm sure I speak for nearly every Liverpool fan, it just knocked the stuffing out of me. I was just genuinely gobsmacked. I'd nearly go as far as saying that it's probably probably the strangest statement I've ever seen released by the club.
Yeah.
We can't hide behind it though, Jonathan. Like we are a big club. We need to act like a big club. Yeah. And there's no way you're ever seeing Manchester United, Chelsea coming out with this exact same statement. Never.
Yeah, ever. Like that statement to me has John Henry written all over it. It really does. Like there's 2 ways of looking at that statement. It's either, oh fuck, we're in trouble here. We're after getting the suspended transfer ban, underage ban for that Stoke kid. That's only a couple of months ago. Oh fuck, there's going to be a transfer ban. We need to spend big. We'll pull the rug from it and just sweet Tom Beretta. It's either that, or I'm torn between. It's that. There's probably a bit of that. But the other way of looking at it is this a mad game of poker from John Henry and FSG and all that goes with it. I don't know. I think it's possibly a combination of both. I think they definitely panicked.
Some Red Sox fan last night on Twitter claimed that FSG are just kind of sneaky tactics in a transfer game. I don't know how it works. I know transferring in baseball is totally different, but he said they're renowned for it. They're sneaky and just enjoy it. I'm not really signing up to it at the moment. I wouldn't. I mean, this could happen again. Like, it only could kind of takes conversation between two businessmen who want a massive transaction to take place. But I think it's a genuine apology that we've absolutely crapped ourselves and we're walking away from it. And the only way that this happens again is kind of Southampton come crawling and they're come crawling back with a number that's going to suit us. Like, I mean, I don't think when that statement was put together there was a big ploy going on in their heads. They've just acted on a situation, impulse, yeah. And they've had to do it. I don't think there's a bigger game at play, but that doesn't necessarily mean the transfer couldn't come on again. I think it's highly, highly unlikely. I think as far as Southampton said, Van Dijk Milton's fantasy. I think at the moment it feels like it's fantasy, but then again, it could come back down. But I don't think it's made to do that.
I would say that Southampton were always knew about this meeting between Jurgen Klopp and Virgil van Dijk. And I think it's this negotiating tactics, which you alluded to, Andy, about this kind of low-balling clubs, trying to get trying to scrimp every penny, that's put us in this awkward position, on top of the fact that Virgil van Dijk hasn't come out and actually put in a transfer request. He only signed a deal last year. So as far as they're concerned, they hold all the power. And I think we got very ahead of ourselves because we've been so used to dealing with Southampton as a club. We've signed so many players from them now. I think we got a bit too comfortable. And where Southampton, I again, because what doesn't make sense to me is why yesterday was this story released? Why yesterday? Was it released yesterday because somebody just found out and there was a particular snitch? Or was it always known to both clubs that this conversation happened between Klopp and Van Dijk, but because of the way in which the news has come out that we are essentially have him in the bag and he's our man, and the fact that him choosing Liverpool because of Klopp has them thinking, okay, you're going to play that game. What we're going to do then, you've put all the clubs off now because apparently you've kind of let it be known that Virgil van Dijk chose Klopp. We're going to tell you how that happened and we're going to leak that story out into the national press. And then we're going to see what you're going to have to do next. So I think there was a bit of knowledge with the meeting in Blackpool. I can't believe for a second that this has just come out of nowhere as of today, and Southampton were unaware up until that point. What do you guys think?
Yeah, but I think we would have responded to that. I think the response would have been last night either no statement or else a statement to clarify that Southampton were aware, and we have evidence to prove that they were aware of it. I mean, I think they've been totally blindsided by this.
Well, lads, what I think I can't get around here is this stuff goes on all the time. Like, let's put our big boy hats on. We know that this stuff goes on. Premier League knows this stuff goes on. Every club knows it goes on. So, surely to God, somebody sat down with Jurgen Klopp and said, look, cover your tracks and do this, 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 and this. Maybe don't talk directly to Van Dijk. Have his fucking agent sitting beside him and talk to his agents. There's technical ways around breaking the rules.
Yeah, like, of course, I don't think that's the issue here. I think what's at play is the fact that we've probably cost them in the region of 20 million on this transfer. That's the issue. Like, the way we've knocked out, like, City were the big players in this battle, and they walked away. And at that point, Southampton must have said, you know what? With this, we're gonna get, but gloves are off here. And we're gonna play dirty tricks back because we've cost them money, and I don't think the tapping up part is such a big deal. I mean, most transfers before they actually have any legs will establish whether the player is interested in the club or not. Because clubs aren't going to waste their time in bidding wars all summer, unless they know the player has a bit of a desire to go. So conversations would have taken place with agents and stuff like that, as they always do. His agent might have said, well, he would like to speak to Klopp over it. They had a friendly meeting. I mean, there's nothing against it. And but the fact that we've got him, I don't know. As he said, it seems like he said he wants to go to Liverpool. He hasn't actually been directly quoted as saying it. We're claiming he's saying it. So that's obviously going to get Southampton's back up.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. Jonathan, do you want to come in?
Yeah, no, it's exactly that. We've cost them money. Everyone knows they're tapping up players. Like you look at the Suarez deal with the Suarez, the famous 40 million and £1 bid. He was tapped up. Barcelona tapped him up when it's a dumb thing, and Southampton are just playing this card now because they've been cost money and they've been made to look like fools, really. And they're just it's one massive game of poker, and this one is going to rumble and rumble. And I've no knowledge, but my personal hunch is I still see him digging his heels. I see a transfer request being submitted, and him digging the heels, and he could. I'd be pretty sure, not pretty sure, but I wouldn't be one bit surprised at all if he ends up a Liverpool player.
But surely then Liverpool should just reevaluate things and just say, look, Klopp wants the players in before the pre-season starts. If it's going to cost an extra 5-6 million quid, if we have to get Van Dijk to put in a transfer request and then put the extra few bob back in his contract, like surely it's the sensible thing to do to just get the business done and over the line.
Yeah, but you're dealing with shrewd businessmen who don't like parting with their cash and are going to do anything to take a shortcut or anything to get a negotiation or a bit off. Like people, for better for worse, successful businessmen like that become good to the top because they're tight fuckers with their money, and they will take every single loophole known that they can to get where they are. So they're the right thing to do is go, oh, okay, he's 80 million, there's your 80 million up front. They're not going to do that because they're going to keep doing the things that have made them successful.
But what about PR fuck ups like this though, lads? Surely that affects the club's value in general and its intrinsic appeal to sponsors and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, but I don't think they realised Southampton would pull this card out. I thought they were thinking we're going to do the one over, like we've kind of, because the Lallana deal as well was not as high profile, but there was Lallana and dug his heels, I believe. I don't know the complete ins and outs of that transfer as well, but he really dug his heels and left in a nasty way. The same way Lovren did as well when he signed. I don't think they expected. They didn't. They certainly were caught off guard, and I think the statement, kind of the way it's written, it's almost childish in a way. I'm very sorry if I did anything wrong. It was completely on almost impulse at the end. They were very surprised that Southampton pulled that card.
Yeah, we've played Bully Big Club with these now twice with Lovren and Lallana. We've made their players rebel against their club, rebel against their contracts, and like this is the third time now we've tried to do it. So who can blame them? I think like this one might be kind of, it might work out too costly for the club now, like not just financially, but the bad PR. I think it might be in FSG's mind, it might be the time to just drop it all together, because I think the only way to make themselves look even more silly after that statement is by reversing on that statement and coming back into the picture and making a bid and turning into a complete soap opera. Like they won't see this as a positive thing and attracting sponsors that this club are amateur. What are this club going to do with our invested money if they're going to carry on like that in the media?
It's down to how much Klopp digs his heels, really. Like, I think it's pretty well known that Klopp wants Van Dijk badly and is willing to do anything. So it's really, there's almost going to be an internal battle, not a battle, but a discussion between Klopp and the parties above his head, and it's kind of who rules that. I've no doubt that Klopp will be, if you give him his or what he wants to do is come back with it, let it settle, but let the transfer request come through and bid a few more and kind of give a bit of hush money there and just get the deal over the line. It's going to be actually fascinating to see how that's going to work out over the next while. Look, the life of a Liverpool supporter, hey, it's never a dull moment, is it? Even when you think we fought off the two big teams in the league and we still have this.
It's funny, like this transfer started, best part of a month ago, when this interest started, and we were getting the leaks, and it could very well, if what you're saying happens, it could very well go down to that 1 minute to 12 Jim White, Big Ben transfer. Like it could have very well drag out that long.
Yeah, let's hope there's paper on the fax machine.
Right, so we've kind of covered what's happened, what's led up to it. I suppose we should really look at what we expect to finish here and what way. Keith, what do you expect to see? Do you think this is the end of this transfer, or are we going to push on? Are we going to try and get the player over the line?
No, I think there'll be some hope that will be tweeted out by some very respectable accounts over the next couple of days. But I think by next Monday we'll be talking about somebody else. I think I just can't see us. What the biggest part of that statement is, we've ended our interest. To go back on that statement would be, it wouldn't make any sense. So either Southampton also know that Southampton either said to Liverpool, look, you guys put out a statement and calm this shit down before we talk, or Liverpool have said, you know what, we're going to save face here. You know, our bargaining abilities are not going to work here, and then we're going to miss out on another player. And I think it could be quite damaging for the relationship. It could be the first little crack in the relationship between FSG and Jurgen Klopp. I can't believe he must be too happy about the way we've done this and we've done business. And maybe he's learning for the first time just how FSG like to work. Look, it's frustrating, very frustrating as a fan when they do it, when they play hardball and they do all these negotiations and we miss out on players when we're buying players. But when we're selling players, we're very happy with the results. So it's very difficult sometimes when you're thinking about how to look at FSG. It's one of those ones where this particular saga has done them no favors at all. But, you know, in general, they do kind of their shrewdness does make us money through sales, but it also makes us look a bit silly in the transfer market when we're trying to buy somebody. So I think it's over, lads. I just think it's over. I think we're going to be brainwashed now over the next couple of days. Couple videos will come out, couple stats will come out about the Ridge and maybe your Will Keanes and Maguires and whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm not having that fucking, no, not having that pudding Maguire.
Grizzle gets a chance to celebrate when Maguire's going to be the hidden man. But I think it's over.
Yeah, like I kind of agree with Keith. Like the main point was that last line where it said we've ended our interest. Like it'd be just absolutely bonkers now to say, oh, only joking, we weren't. You know, so that is. But then as well, like another very, very significant part of that statement, and that there's been no follow up to it today with a bit more detail. Like there's been no apology to our fans. I think we're the most wounded here. Like they have played a massive part in this, in getting us excited. You know, they let the story get out, whether they leaked it on purpose or what. But our fans are absolutely livid now, and we're excited about Champions League football next year. But we know this team needs massive improvement and massive depth for us to have any sort of a season next year. And they owe the fans a bit of an explanation here, because it's not good enough at the moment, but with such a vague statement. So, you know, Jonathan thinks it might happen. Keith, you don't think it's going to happen, but you know, I think there's a few more twists and turns yet in this one. But my gut feeling is it won't happen.
Well, I actually put up a poll yesterday before we did this podcast just to see what people's reactions were, and there was a couple of options. There was no 100%, he's definitely not coming to us. 50-50, he will still come, or other, but it was pretty much split 33% almost each way. So people like us on the pod are just completely baffled, and we're buying whatever we're being spoon-fed by the media. None of us know what's going on. We just hope.
Yeah, you can't feel like it's definitely going to happen given what has happened. I mean, that can only be hope if you feel that way.
No.
You know, the people that are voting. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Jonathan. Like you know, you're just not ruling it out. But if for somebody to believe it'll happen, that they're really just kind of thinking with their heart that they want it to happen so much that they think there's so many factors here at play. Like Klopp may already have decided that he doesn't want this to go any further. Van Dijk might have already decided that this isn't right anymore. The club. I mean, if people don't want it to happen, that are important people in it going through, it's not going to happen. Like, I mean, if everybody is still on board with this and Southampton want their money, it's just obviously going to depend on how much money. Then obviously it could possibly happen. But as it sits now, I mean, I think Liverpool are probably better off just turning their back on the whole thing.
Do we think that anything might have happened today at the Premier League meeting? Do we think that there was any dialogue between Liverpool and Southampton?
Well, the latest thing out tonight is it's not going to be. We won't find out whether Liverpool are going to be in trouble till next week. So I don't think it's gone tickety-boo. I think there's been harsh words said. Southampton are clearly not happy. Like, you know, that kind of report by them was that of a very, very wounded club. It wasn't just a game, I don't think. So they might follow through with some punishment. And I mean, if they do sell that player to Chelsea or to Man United, or somebody comes in from abroad and gets them cheap, are they going to come after Liverpool for compensation for causing this on them? I don't know.
Well, that's a good shout. Apart from the compensation shout, if Man City or Chelsea or Man United or whoever it might be do come in and take him, especially a Premier League club, then that comes back to haunt us yet again on the field.
Absolutely.
Interesting though, guys. Say, leaving all the hysteria and the willy won'ty that goes along with it, how much would you be willing to pay for him? Are we talking? So we're talking about the 45, 50 million. Do we go to 60? Do we go to 70? I'm just curious to see.
Look, as fans, I don't think we should give a fuck about the money. It's like that. That's just my opinion. I think I'm only concerned about the players that are on the pitch. Mm-hmm. So for me, I don't care what it takes. If he's the player Klopp wants, buy him, and I don't care how much it costs. That's just my opinion.
If it affects like area, if there's only X amount of money to spend, and we just jizz it all on a.
We're getting 70 million for Sacco now from Spurs.
And they definitely tapped him up.
Yeah, there was a phone call there. No, I kind of agree with Craig in a way. You know, pay what you have to pay to get him. But actually, let me take that back. I'm kind of in the fence. 70 million for me sets a bad precedent. You know, let's be honest here. He's a phenomenal centre back. You know, and we really do need a centre back of his stature and his class. However, 70 million pounds for a centre back, I want to be spending that 70 million pounds on a bloody Champions League winning centre back. You know, a league winning centre back, somebody with experience, who's won it, who's been there, done it. You know, that's the type of money that 70 million pounds should be buying you as a centre back. I was always under the assumption that someone like Virgil van Dijk, the 40, 50 million mark was, you know, at the upper end of the scale. And that's purely because he plays for an English club. So it's always going to be a bit more expensive on these shores. And obviously with the precedents that have been set, ironically, by clubs like FSG, when you sell Raheem Sterling for 50 million pounds, you know, you're always going to...
John Stones fucked the defensive market for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Those type of pay big now for quality later type of bids that's happening nowadays. And because he's 25, I feel like that's the same philosophy that's taking place with Virgil van Dijk. 70 million is way too much. I'm sure there are other defenders we can potentially find. You know, if Arsenal could find a defender like Rob Holding for that kind of money, you know, there are quality defenders out there. Hopefully we've done our research and, you know, contingency plans if this all failed.
Right, so Keith wants Harry Maguire. Let's just get that out there.
Will Keane. I want Michael Keane. Is it Michael Keane? Will Keane?
Michael Keane.
Michael Keane. I want Michael Keane.
I mean, I think there's a certain kind of point where you just have to, with any transfer, you have to just close your eyes and just forget about the money, because even 30 million for Rio Ferdinand almost 15, 16 years ago was bonkers. you know. But
it was. Sorry, just, it was. But he played Champions League football. He had that experience going into. He had something about him going into that. Would you not say?
Yeah. I suppose he was. I suppose he could have been seen as a more ready, higher caliber player as well. Van Dijk's coming back off an injury, but at the time, I suppose, like we have fallen behind Manchester United since the mid-90s when the Moores family didn't really press the club forward and do what United did and grow the brand. We're doing that now. So I want to taste some of that cake. I want to see us be able to compete with them. I don't want us to be Russian billionaires or Arabs and just be going splashing money. But I think we need to show muscle in the transfer market. And if it means spending 60 million on them and making a statement, so be it. I don't particularly like it. I don't like modern football the way it's gone and the money that's involved. Nobody's going to convince me that any player is worth that sort of money. But that's the reality. And we either kind of do it now or we never do. So it's not really what you would pay or what he's worth. We kind of to make that show, you need to know if we've 200 million to spend this summer or 100 million to spend this summer. Certainly, like if we only had 70 million to spend, I wouldn't be going to spend it all on one centre back. But if these guys have 250 million to spend, say, including sales, well then go for it. Let's sort out that defence. Because if he can reduce our goals conceded by 10, 15, like that's could be potentially 10 or 15 more points, could be the difference between a draw and a loss or a win and a draw. We have 15 more points this season. We're right up there with Chelsea nearly winning the league. So that's the difference a centre half can make. Plus he comes out of the back four very well and he puts the opposition on the back foot as well. He has a presence about him in the box from set pieces. He can take set pieces himself. So this could be a very, very valuable asset for us. So I don't know. Where do you draw the line? Where do you walk away with?
Yeah, for me, it's this. It's like nobody doubts the ability of the player and what he will give. I think you look at himself from that pitch as a centre half pairing, strong, tall, aggressive, good on the ball, take the ball forward. Like that's a serious watertight centre half that will just add 15, 20 more points to our tally at the end of the season. I've no doubt. It's a statement would make as well. I know it's going to be if it was to happen, it would be a buckload of money, but it would be a buckload of money that I would like to see spent just for that statement it would send out as well. But look, I'm sure we'll talk on and on and on about this saga.
Right, lads, to tie this all together, I suppose, and kind of move on to the next target. One thing that hasn't been mentioned during this is we could have signed him 2 years ago for 13 million quid. We could have signed a lot of these players that we're now going back in for a few years ago if we just paid that little bit extra back then. So we're going to kind of segue now, I suppose, into Salah. And what a better way to talk about him than the fact that we had the opportunity to sign him a few years ago. And now it looks like we're having to go in and pay 3 times what we would have paid back then.
Yeah, I think the situation was a lot different back then. I mean, we cannot forget or ignore the fact that the club was in severe debt and there was only so much money to spend. I mean, the financial statements will tell you the club had debt. The club wasn't making money. I mean, it's only now things have changed, like dramatically. The fact that we're not in debt, you've got 90 million or something came from TV rights last year. You've got the Champions League qualification. All of a sudden, the money is there to spend. So when Salah was available the last time, or when Van Dijk was available the last time, or going back to when we sold Suarez and people said, well, we should have just blown X amount on another attacking player. Don't forget, we only had so much to spend and we are going into a Champions League season and the club, the team needed depth more than just a replacement from Suarez. They needed to buy 5 or 6 players. So they could only play with what they had. And FSG can be very rightly accused of being money scrimpers, but we have to be rational about it. We have to be practical about it. It's only really now, I believe, that the money is there to be real big spenders.
I think I might have got my point across a little bit wrong. What I was trying to really get at was we need to have more faith in the scouting system that's identifying these players. If 2-3 years down the line we're still looking at these same players, if we have a chance to buy them at that early stage, which seems to be an FSG's way of thinking, to buy players young, we need to pull the trigger a little bit more. If it maybe it costs us that extra 250 grand or whatever it was to get the likes of the young lad at Spurs, what's his name? I'm after drawing a blank on his name.
Sessionen?
No, going back further, sorry. Dele Alli. Along those type of lines, like, we need to have
but we
faith.
don't know. Like, we don't know what happened there. Like, the club have a policy about how much they pay. Well, they certainly do now have a policy how much they pay young players. We don't really know what was at play when it came to Dele Alli. Like, he was only a kid. He may wanted to stay in London, his hometown. His family could have had a big influence there. He may not have wanted to go to Liverpool. Spurs could have ticked the boxes. We really don't know. I know it's happened on us a lot of times when we've lost out. Like, if the players that pop into my head that we've lost out on will be the likes of Willian and Salah to Chelsea. But we aren't really talking about just paying an extra 250,000. We're talking about these guys saying, we'll pay you 150,000 a week. Mm. And our highest player at the time would have been Gerrard on 150,000 a week. So 20,000, 30,000 a week is a long way off paying a player what Chelsea could afford. So
I think
sorry, Keith.
You're right. In terms of the markets in which we were paying wages at the time, in particular, when you're looking at players like Salah, you're looking at players like Willian, I suppose Teixeira as well, Alex Teixeira to a certain extent, Kolopayenko, these were at the time players where they were a little bit more established than those that we could actually afford to pay. And it was a case of our philosophy of bringing in people on cheaper wages and then putting in bonuses to make sure that, if they reach those bonuses, then they can have an increase in their wage. I think there was a lot of players that were looking at it as if to say, well, why should I take that risk, really? When Chelsea are going to offer me X amount of money and I get to play in Champions League year in, year out, and I get to challenge for the title year in, year out. So there's that argument with those type of established players that, at the time we weren't in the market for. With regards to your Virgil van Dijks and those that maybe we should have poached before, it is a question to suggest that maybe at the time when Virgil van Dijk didn't come over to Southampton, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we bring in Sacco around that time? And Dejan Lovren, was that right? Did they buy Virgil van Dijk to replace Dejan Lovren?
Yeah, and Dejan Lovren didn't give a fuck. He was waving his all-day Blackpool bracelets around like they were confetti, throwing them around. Didn't care who knew he was on the donkey.
Did those moves happen simultaneously, yeah?
Again, anyone who listens to this can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Van Dijk was brought in to replace Lovren, if I'm not mistaken. And then that's the argument of suggesting, okay, were we going to go after a centre-back that was doing a decent job in Celtic, or were we going to go after a proven Premier League defender who, at the time, many of us were saying, looked like a pretty decent catch? So there's that side of the story to play as well, in the sense that, maybe we missed out on certain players like that because we decided that we're actually going to invest in more established players. Then the argument is, well, why aren't we investing more in established players? What market do we want to shop in? So, maybe it's cool to be a bit like Wenger sometimes. And yeah, you can shop in the lucrative markets, but also keep your eye out and pluck these little gems. You never know what could happen. With all this money, we don't necessarily need to spend it. We can look in and pluck a few gems, but it's the question of how the fans are going to react if we go from apparently spending 60 million on Van Dijk to spending 18 to 20 million on a Serie A defender that not a lot of people have heard of. So
sorry. By the end of next week, everybody will be swearing blind. They've seen him 150,000 times.
Keith, I had a quick Google there. Lovren came to us the season before Van Dijk went to Southampton. So Van Dijk only went to Southampton at the start of last season.
Jesus, right. That's some markup then on 13 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So maybe when we were buying Lovren from Southampton, we should have been looking at Van Dijk with Celtic.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. So lads, where do we see the centre back fascination moving on to next? If we're gonna say Van Dijk is done, who else is available, and do we see us possibly going for? I can't bring myself to believe that De Vrij is at Lazio. Is where Klopp's looking to next. I just refuse to believe that.
Who's he looking at Lazio?
Was it Stefan De Vrij? Was that the guy? See the centre back from Lazio, or am I getting this completely wrong? See, not the guy, Keith, you were just talking about, the Serie A defender.
Mm-hmm.
Was that not Stefan De Vrij? No,
Stefan De Vrij. Yeah. Call me ignorant, but I've not watched him at all, so I don't really have any kind of view on him, really. I've watched Koulibaly a bit. I think he's a decent ball playing defender, a bit erratic.
Oh, not a fan of Koulibaly at all.
Very erratic. I just think we need to keep a centre back pairing fit for most of the season.
That's for me is one of the most
issue.
important things, and I think you have it spot on. We need somebody who's going to be able to take a knock or play 30, 35 league games.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Lovren and fucking Matip are always out with viruses and crap like that.
It's always niggly little things, isn't it? Little muscle strains or
things. Stuff that you only hear about a couple of days before a game. That was one really annoying. Like, honestly, talk about a calm down. If we end up with, no disrespect to the guys, but like Harry Maguire or Keane, if we end up with someone at that level after being almost there with Van Dijk, it'd be such a kick in the stone.
Well, I think I know where a lot of these guys on Twitter get their next links from, because we figured this out on the Day Trippers podcast during the week, that if you put in Van Dijk into that transfer market website, it actually shows you up comparable players. It's no coincidence. It's no coincidence that
you're giving away the secrets now.
Like, it's mad.
You've just killed off of a couple of hundred.
Like, I mean, just there, like that Lazio centre back division. How do you say it?
I don't know. I'm just winging it. Stefan De Vrij or something. I'm just winging it.
Yeah. He's mentioned. We've got the Roma centre back. Manolas mentioned. We've got Mustafi off Arsenal. That's not going to happen. But Koulibaly off Napoli, he's mentioned. And you've got Savic off Atletico. So I can guarantee you go search on Twitter now, and people will be probably telling you that we should go after either of them names, because they've used transfermarket.com.
I'd like to argue with you, Andy, but I think you haven't nailed me.
Yeah.
So moving on then to Salah, what do we think of this situation? Is it done? Is it over the line? Is it fucked? Are we signing the young lad from Sporting Lisbon? What do we think?
I don't know. I think Jonathan nailed it earlier at the very beginning of this podcast. We literally don't know.
Yeah. And the thing is that
guesswork.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. We're just kind of, throwing our rod into a lake and hoping for a bite, really. I mean, the argument that is he worth the extra couple of million quid, I honestly believe that someone like Salah could be another Mane. I think he's got a point to prove in the Premier League, and I think he can do that at Liverpool. I think on a personal level, for him to take his career to the next level, it would be a fantastic opportunity for him to do so at Liverpool with the kind of exposure that he's going to get, and the opportunity to play in the Premier League again. My only concern is that if Salah is the only winger we sign, what are we going to do when the African Cup of Nations comes back again? We're going to be stuck with the same issues when the African Cup of Nations come rolling around again. We're going to be Salah and Mane.
None of that makes sense. Like,
yeah. Maybe that's
not going to leave us in that position, really, is he?
It's a scary thought, because you could just imagine it now. We take the lead by storm, it blitz it, Salah, Firmino, Coutinho, and Mane do damage, and then two of them go, and that's a good, 20 goals and 15 assists gone out of the team like that, just like with Mane. And all of a sudden the wheels come off, we forget how to play football, and then teams like
And we won't even have a Lucas to be wheeled out, lads, to save us.
No. He wants to go back to Brazil, does he?
Yeah, that's what I read.
I think he deserves to do what he wants to do, but like many others, I do like the lad now, but his time surely has to be up at the club at this stage.
I think so. But it's interesting. We've essentially tapped up Salah as well. Like, same crack. Like, the belief is that we've gone into Roma and tried to play bully big boys as well and put them over a barrel because they've got some financial fair play problem.
Yeah, there's something about them having some type of thing they have to sort out by the 30th of June or something along those lines. If they pay 40 million quid or something like that. And he's after being spotted. Is that a real picture of him standing at the side of the pitch in Egypt with the two boys with the Liverpool shirts, or is that being photoshopped?
Haven't a clue, Craig.
Not sure either. Go back to like, there's all the hysteria that'll go on in the background in closing out the deal or not or whatever where that negotiation goes. Again, like Van Dijk, I think Salah would just be an amazing signing for us. Like, he fits pretty much everything, that all the attributes that it would be needed to play in our system. Burning pace, decent work rate. Very flexible to play in that fluid front three as well. I think he'd be a perfect sign. It'd be another one, a case where obviously it's not up to me, but it'd be just me just telling them just spend the extra few bob and just get that over the line, because I think he will be a quality addition to the squad, and it just gives that burning pace that we have on both wings, and it just going to free up a lot of patterns in the play for like to continue from deeper and Lallana and whoever running from deeper. Then it just would be, it makes football wise, I think it makes perfect sense.
Absolutely, Jonathan. I'm well in behind that transfer. I think it'd be an absolutely excellent sign. It's a lot of these names I see bandied around. I don't know who they are. I have to YouTube them. I don't watch terrible lot of Italian football or German football, Portuguese football, and some Hungarian football, whatever. Some of these players mentioned, but I can tell you, I like Salah, and I think it's one we really need to get done. I think it's probably more important than the Van Dijk one.
From a PR exercise, it's important, I think, that the club gets something over the line soon enough. I
think we'd soon forget about Van Dijk if we signed Salah this week. Well, it would at least smother the talk. We need something to shut this up, because it's going to get more embarrassing if we don't kind of get on the headlines for the right reasons.
So, to sum this up then, I suppose, lads, and before we finish up, what do we want to see the club doing in the rest of the transfer window? And Andy rightly said, none of us know who's coming in, so we're not going to go all ITK in that, but where do we want to see us spend the money and strengthen during this window?
Well, from what I think anyway, okay, we're going to need a left back, we're going to need a centre back, we're going to need a centre midfielder, we're probably going to need a striker, and we're going to need somewhere in Salah's position, wide left or wide right, another player with a bit of pace that can play across the front three. And Klopp seems to have prioritised the centre back and the winger first. I would have probably went centre back, centre midfield, left back first. I don't know, but that's what seems to have happened. We've seen the rumours about Keita. I don't know whether it's just Klopp is an admirer of this player, or there's actually been talks taking place or bidding taking place. But to me, it seems like that at the moment is just very, very speculative.
So you'd be afraid of that coming out in the news at the minute, wouldn't you? You'd be afraid of any links.
Yeah, you would. You would actually. But I think we're going to need them. We're going to need a starter level. And I don't mean like all of these players need to come in and start, but these players need to be good enough to play in our 11. So a centre back, left back, centre midfield, and then something up front, whether it's a centre forward or a winger. We need something. So they kind of need 4 starting level players, and they're going to cost us in the guts region of 120 million. And then after that, we can sell some players and bring in a little bit of potential, or just improve on our squad players, and just push our kind of first 15 or 16 players that we have good enough a little bit harder.
Jonathan, if you want to add there position wise?
No, position wise, it's covered. I think everyone's in the same boat. It's centre half, it's left back, it's centre mid, it's a striker and a wide fast attacker in the Manny mode. If you want to prioritise them, for me, it's centre half and it's wide wingers. So kind of almost the way Klopp has gone. Probably left back, striker, centre midfielder in that order. What I'd like the club to do really is just really make a statement. Just go out and spend what's needed. Just get the big players in for not just the quality it brings to this squad, but just the statement it sets out to everybody. That we're no longer like just little mocking boys just picking out of the bargain bucket in the supermarket. We just need to make them a statement, because we just need to be in a position where, not like last season, where any Tom, Dick and Harry could pretty much predict our team with a core 12, 13 players that played over and over again, and it was too easy to predict the team. We want to be having debates come match day of who we're going to play, who's getting dropped out, because the run of games, like we saw how much we struggled in January, where we had a fairly consistent run of close games together, and we just totally shat the bed on it. That's going to be all season next season. So we're just going to we're going to need just to have some extra air miles in the tank and the squad. So yeah, so look, who knows what to see, but it would be nice to see the club make a big statement.
Keith, I'll let you finish on this one. What we're getting at is, what positions do we want to see strengthened here before the season ends?
Yeah, I think everyone's hit the nail on the head. Definitely a left back. We have to have a competing centre back. We need, 3 quality centre backs being ready for the season. With regards to the midfield, I don't really see us buying a midfielder unless Jordan Henderson's injury continues to become a big issue going into the start of the season. I think that could be one of the last positions we buy, because I think with Klopp in the hunt for a winger, I anticipate that Coutinho will be dropped into that 8 role, with Chan being given that holding midfield role and competing with the position with Henderson, and then Wijnaldum and Lallana and Coutinho fighting for the places in front. So I don't think a midfielder will be signed. I think Grujic also, let's not sleep too much on him. I know people are still skeptical on how good he is, but I believe he can be a colossal player. With the striker situation, it all depends on Danny Ings, really. I think Danny Ings is going to be key to what Klopp wants to do with him next. And if he gets rid of Danny Ings, or if he sends him out on loan, then maybe another striker might come into play. But again, you've got strikers like Ben Woodburn, and you've got Solanke now, who's been brought in. Is Klopp prioritizing youth over a cold-blooded goal scorer? My dream has always been to see Diego Costa. I know everybody hates him, and I'm sure you can shoot me on Twitter afterwards, but I'd love to see Diego Costa in a Liverpool shirt. Gosh, that would be Luis Suarez on steroids. But ultimately, it's the defensive position. It's the centre back. It's the left back. It's competition in the defensive positions that we need more than anything else. So those are the places I think we'll prioritise, and also think we'll get another wide player, either left or right.
I think there's a couple of lads you want to give a bit of a shout out to as well, Keith, before we finish the pod.
Absolutely. I think with all the Virgil van Dijk's kerfuffle, a lot of high-profile accounts not really been given the love that should be shown to Mr. Shea Ojo and Mr. Dominic Solanke, both of them making a huge impact in pushing England's under-20 team to the World Cup final. How many times do you hear England and World Cup final in the same sentence? But Shea Ojo came onto the game and won man of the match, completely turned the game on its head, and set up Solanke for one of the goals. And he also banged in 2 of the other goals. And if you speak to anybody that's been watching this quite regularly, Solanke looks quite a player. So, as I said, don't be surprised if we don't buy a striker. This could be he could be the next beast that we've all been waiting for. And hey, he's English.
That's it.
And he scored some absolutely ridiculous numbers at youth level. It's probably a good few years since we've had a striker that absolutely tore up at youth level. Somebody told me Neil Mellor did. I'm not too sure, but I think we need to go back as far as Owen, for a player that was scoring 40 and 50 goals at youth level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're mental numbers, because the standard of youth football is huge now. So this is a player, and I've heard good things about him since we've signed him. So hopefully, and Ojo as well, like, his kind of development stalled there last season a lot with the injury and that. But he looks to me like a very mature player. Plays with his head up all the time. He picks out a pass. He's a lot of composure, and for a kid his age, he's very, very promising. So hopefully we see a bit of both.
Right, folks, I think we've tried to leave that on a positive note. We're sorry we couldn't give you some more positive answers this week. It's been a bit of a trying week for the supporters. As Andy said, we're out a damn apology, so FSG, get your finger out of your arse and give us that apology. Huge thanks to Andy, Keith and Jonathan for joining me. We'll talk to you guys soon. Hopefully we've got some better news next time. Take care and enjoy the rest of your week.